went to Ibiza for a lad's holiday. First night, got back after the night out. Sean rings me, he's my business partner. Sit down, you need to hear this. Our warehouse is burnt down. Obviously, it's not our warehouse, but it was where all our stock was. We're like 300, 400 grand's worth of stock, which is everything we owned, burnt to the crisp. We're like, what you actually meant to do when you've got a brand that's 6 years old? All your stock's now gone. We owe suppliers a shit ton of money. What are you meant to do? Do you just call it a day?
Right then, fellas, another sponsor for the pod is probably something you're very familiar with. If you're in the e-commerce space, it's certainly something I am. It's Waveflyer. Cash flow is the biggest killer of any fast-growing e-com brand, as I, probably more than most, know very fucking well. Go and watch episode 1 if you haven't already. Waveflyer is an e-commerce funding partner. Essentially, they can front you the cash for a month or so worth of sales. You need a minimum of 6 months sales, a minimum of 20 grand a month, I believe, right now. If you've got a brand that you're super, super passionate about, you want to scale it quick, but cash is a problem, to invest in inventory, mainly marketing, overheads, team costs, whatever it is, you can get funded in as little as 2 to 3 days. It's literally that quick. No bullshit bank loans, no personal guarantees. I've worked with them personally in the past, took a 6-figure sum off them. Plenty of guys I know in my network and people that have been on the pod and run massively successful brands have also used them as a funding partner, because everyone knows at scale, cash flow is the biggest killer, even if you are profitable. If you think this could be a fit, potentially you could be a fit for them, then go click the link below, speak to the guys at Waveflyer. It's a referral link, so we get a little fee, you save a little bit as well. Support the pod, support your business. Cash is king, especially in this market. Let's fucking go. Right then, back with another episode of the Midnight Pod. I think episode 40, which is fucking mental. My dog is going crazy as usual. We got David from 304, or Dave, or Dom, or Jack, or something else that we were just saying. Big Man City fan, so he's probably in a good mood for the next week or so.
Hungover.
And someone, again, that has been in my network for, well, been on my radar. I've never actually met, but we have like mutual friends, and probably I feel like I followed you for like 2-3 years maybe.
Yeah.
And Brad, who's sat over there, my creative genius that does all the shit for Space and the pod now, put us in touch originally. But yeah, I've been told that you've got an interesting story, so it better not disappoint.
No, we'll not disappoint.
Yeah, for sure. I guess first question, as always, we'll dive into loads of shit because I'm already half a bottle of wine deep almost, is what do you do? Who are you? What's your background? Like, how did it all start really? And we'll kind of go like chronologically.
Okay. So we started 304, which is the brand that I co-founded, 3 of us, 10 years ago. It's our 10th year now.
Fucking hell.
Back in Manchester, first year out of university. So myself and 2 friends that I used to play football with at Liverpool came out and were like, we need to start doing something. Let's move into a nice flat like this one in Manchester and find something like exciting to actually do. I studied architecture. My other 2 business partners, one was a physiotherapist and one was a doctor. So we were just like, we need to do something that's like outside the 9 to 5 essentially, and we just stumbled on making clothes. And yeah, that was 10 years ago. I mean, a lot has happened since.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Did you go to uni thinking you were gonna not do what you did at uni? Because that obviously, to get like a degree like that, like, that's pretty like fucking high skilled. Like, people would typically study that if they want to be an architect.
Yeah, no, not at all. We literally, I think it all stemmed from the fact that the 3 of us were just young 20-year-old lads that had nothing to do in the flat. We had no money. We were on straight out of university, very poor wages, like, I don't know, 20 grand or whatever a year. And we were like, we need some extra money. Facebook had just started. We were going to a festival, I don't know if you've ever been to it, Park Life.
Yeah.
So we were like, right, we want to wear something that isn't top man hype. I think Represent had just started. So like, there's a few like, not Instagram brands because I hadn't started, but a few brands that were popping up. We're like, we need to wear something that's slightly different. So we went to H&M, bought some vests. I was in the mindset still of I wanted to create. So I was at university. I used to love like making models in the architecture like sphere. So I was cutting things out, this, that, and the other. And we're just like, right, Tumblr was the biggest social platform at the time.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Big. So like, our name was 304 Revolution. So we're just finding like loads of pictures of American dudes with skateboards wearing vests, slogan t-shirts and stuff, and I found one that said Revolution on it with love written backwards. So I was like, I need to just make that because I couldn't find it on the internet anywhere. Yeah. So I bought a load of felt, started cutting the letters out, scalpel, pen, knife and stuff, iron them on the t-shirts, and yeah, we made 3 vests. And I mean, it goes into the story of the brand then from here, if you want to hear that as well.
Yeah,
I won't jump too far on, but
there'll be loads of shit we're going to. But so you had like a proper grad job then? Like you all had proper grad jobs together?
Yeah. So
did you just hate the job, or was it more about money initially? Like you just wanted to make some extra money, and then you stumbled into like, fuck, maybe here?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. We all they were our first jobs outside of university, so we didn't necessarily hate them, but I think we'd come home from work, we'd hit the gym, we'd go for a few beers, and we start talking about stuff that wasn't really architecture, which to a physiotherapist was boring.
Yeah.
Massaging an 8-year-old lady and the NHS wasn't exciting to me, and like we weren't talking about work, so we started talking about other things that could sort of make us money. That we were in a really nice flat in Altrincham in Cheshire, where we were like, oh, imagine being able to afford to buy this one day. We ain't gonna afford it on 20 grand a year that we're doing. Like, is there progression in it? Sean, who's my business partner still, who's in 304, he was 7 years deep at uni, so he was a PhD student. He was actually doing quite well. He had a good career, he liked it. Whereas myself and Joe, a little bit younger, we were just like, nah, I don't think this is for us really. So yeah, we didn't dislike the jobs, but we stumbled into sort of what became 304, and sort of saw the money coming in and the excitement of building a brand and the e-com burst, or whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram 10 years ago, and it just happened from there really.
So how long were you doing both until it went full time? Then we'll go back to like the start of the brand.
Okay.
Just quickly.
A good 3 years. We sort of called it like the apprenticeship years, where for 3 years we were all posting things on our lunch break. We were doing things in the evening till 2 a.m. and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't a brand. It wasn't a business. It was literally selling t-shirts.
More like a hustle.
Yeah. Selling things through Facebook shop, maybe 2 or 3 a day. It felt exciting. It was like the whole process of building the brand that we didn't know as a brand for maybe 2.5 years, 3 years, and then it started to snowball. And we were quite themed around like America. It was all like travel slogan, colourful items at the time. Sean, who was the PhD student, who's still my business partner, he used to work for an American pharmaceutical company, so he used to go to America for 3 months a year. Me and Joe used to fly over for about 6 weeks, our like summer holiday. He'd pay for, his company would pay for it all. Like, he's quit now, doesn't matter saying that. They'd pay for it all, all expenses paid. We'd go around America, Vegas, LA, traveling Route 66 and stuff, and we were like touring the brand. And I came back from it and I was like, I think this is probably what I'd rather do than sit at a computer designing floor plans or door plans or buildings or whatever. I think that the penny dropped when we were in America and we're like, this could actually be a way of life here, or what we could do full time.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
I think everyone gets to that point. They're like, wait a minute, there could be something here.
Yeah. The excitement hits.
Yeah, fucking hell, like Facebook ads and shit. I remember running a Facebook ad in 2015, and like I probably didn't realise the opportunity there was at hand back then. That was when I was in uni. But yeah, that was like the first time I thought, fuck, I didn't even finish uni, but that's when I realised like there's actually scope to do something else and not finish uni and like not be homeless. Like, and actually do it like viably. Yeah. So going back to the start of the brand then.
Yeah.
What was the story with that? Like, was it on Shopify? Like, how scrappy was it? I know you mentioned like 3 years of like kind of hustle before it was real, but like just like a whistle stop tour of that
the early days.
Period.
So we had a Facebook. Like, I'll start with a part life party. So all my friends came. I lived in Manchester. All my friends are from the Midlands. All my friends
got a strange accent.
Yeah,
it's like a mix of all three.
Manc, Liverpool, everything. So my friends came down from Birmingham. We had a Facebook group called 304 Party or 304 After Party, and we made all these vests. We had an apartment. We hung all these vests on the wall because we had no money for artwork. The flat was empty. Went to Part Life. Came back. A load of people came back with us. Had an after party. Next day, we all wake up. All the vests had gone off the wall, and we were like, we made them to wear on day 2, essentially. Like, where the hell have they all gone? Piled down to Part Life day 2. Walking around the festival, obviously, all my mates, like 30 of us and stuff, were having this party by the this like tree DJ area, and we turned around and like these people walked past us wearing the vests. And I was like, what the fucking hell's going on here? Walked over to them like, where'd you get them vests from? And they were like, Facebook apartment 304. And I was like, fucking my apartment, they're my vests. Didn't tell them at the time. I was just like, right, fucking bit of a penny dropped. I was like, right, okay. Taking it from 3 or 4, they obviously like the vest.
Were they just random designs, or did they say like 3 or 4?
No, they didn't have 3 or 4 at the time, so we didn't have a name for the brand at this point. We were literally just making t-shirts and writing slogans on it. So we had the original ones were like "Curls Get Girls," very cheesy, really like American, funny quotes, revolution, she believed, he lied, like all the stuff you saw on Tumblr like 10 years ago. We were just sticking on a vest,
like angsty teenage shit.
Yeah, 100%. So about 2-3 weeks later, all our friends in Park Life were like, oh, would you mind making me one of them vests that we saw that girl wear and that lad wear? And we were like, okay, fair enough. So we were making these vests after work, 20 quid, 25 quid. We were driving to the Trafford Centre, buying all the vests, these tri-blend vests from H&M, buying the felt from Altrincham Market, cutting all these letters out one by one, stencil, probably taking 3 hours a vest, charging 25 quid. And we're like,
so you're actually like stitching shit on, you weren't just like screen printing?
No screen. We were literally buying rolls of felt, creating individual letter stencils and physically cutting them out with a scalpel. Just because that was what I did at university. I was like, I quite enjoy still like getting involved like late at night.
Some proper arty shit.
Yeah. And we were probably making 2 or 3 a night, taking us 6 hours from like 8 o'clock till 2 in the morning after hitting the gym and like just having a chat with the lads. And we're like, 75 quid, 6 hours, 3 of us, we're not really making any money here. Maybe we need to start. The demand was growing. It was like we were getting maybe 3 messages a week to then from friends being like there was 5. And then friends were saying, actually, can you make me a vest that says this on it instead? So like fully customized. And we were like, right, okay, maybe we need to make a website, or Facebook store wasn't really.
Oh, so how were you selling? Just Facebook store?
Just Facebook, through either DM on Facebook. Yeah. Or I think there was a Facebook shop at the time.
Yeah.
So we were doing it through there, and then we made I think it was Wix. I can't actually, it might have been Wix. So I can't remember what the first website was. Yeah. And then,
you know, someone now knows no idea what they're doing when they use Wix.
Yeah.
Like nowadays. Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that. I promise you, 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales, like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business. Not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, market and all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'll be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go.
So we made a website and we were like, right, okay, this is going on a little bit further now, but we waited 3 days for our first sale once we'd spent all this time building the website on Wix or whatever else it was. And when it finally came through, we were like, fucking yes, like the first ever sale, absolutely buzzing, 25 quid for a vest. 3 hours later, we're still making it, thinking it's probably cost us 40 quid to make this thing, but we were just buzzing with like actually making something and selling it. And that was probably 6 months into the brand. I still call it a brand. We didn't have a brand name at that point. It was still just 3 or 4. We called it Revolution. The apartment we lived in was number 304. So
I was going to say, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, that was it. The apartment number was 304. So one of the founders, who's not involved anymore, he set the Facebook group up, called it 304 After Party Part Life, and sort of 304 it just looked a nice number, it sounded good, it rolled off the tongue and stuff, so we were like, right, we'll call it 304. The first ever vest said Revolution, and inside Revolution it says love backwards, so we like highlighted like the love area in the slogan, and we stuck with that for probably 3 years before we moved to Magento, when things were starting to heat up, I'd say, like, and then now we're on Shopify.
Yeah, so 3 years in that like hustle trenches, like part-time stage.
Yeah.
Was there like a specific point? Fucking hell, my slat's going off. Was there a specific point when you decided, and I guess why? Like you decided, fuck, we need to go full time, do this properly. Was it just becoming too much? Or you
Yeah.
saw like the potential for it to be way bigger?
Yeah, I think all of it. I think there was the potential for the brand was growing. We could like see every week we were going from whether it be like 2 sales to 3 to 4 to 5. We could see the physical numbers being like, hold on, the demand's growing. But then also on a personal level for me, I went full time first out of the 3 of us. I'm a massive Man City fan. I study architecture. I actually got seconded to work for Man City for 12 months and like redeveloped the inside of the stadium, some of the bars.
Oh, shit.
So I did that for 12 months. Then I went away to America with the lads for 6 weeks, did Route 66, Vegas, LA and stuff, and I came back and I was like, I don't want to go back to work. And I was like, if I'm not excited to go back to work for Man City, who at the time I had no misses, I had no nothing, that was my like baby, that's what I loved the most. If I don't love my work, then I've got something else here that could potentially become what I love. So I remember speaking to my dad and I was just like, look, if I spent 3 years doing university, I'm working for Man City, this should be on paper my dream job.
Yeah.
I'm not loving it. Should I give 304 a go? And my dad was like, yeah, just give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? You've got your degree now. If you do want to go back into architecture, I was only, what was I then? 23. You can go back and get another job. Like your 20s are to mess around and see what you can do anyway. So.
And how about the other 2 guys? Were they the same age in like similar situations? So
Joe, at the time, who he's left 304 now, left about 5 years ago. He was a physiotherapist, a year younger than me. He ended up meeting a girl in America when we were doing these trips and sort of decided that he wanted to move to America and be with her. So he exited the brand and was like, look, you guys carry it on. You've built it. You're doing all the work. I want to go and build my life in America. So he left. Didn't really want to carry on the entrepreneurial side of it. So he left. That was 6 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago. Sean, 4 years older than me. So he's 37, 36 now. He'd done 7 years at university. So that's where I met him, in Liverpool Uni. He was a bit more, not skeptical about going full time, but he had a lot more on the line in terms of a career and a job and money and stuff. So he massively helped fund the brand in the early years, because obviously I went full time on the brand and was earning nothing essentially.
Yeah.
He was funding me to try and push the brand on. So when I moved to London, jumping all over the timelines here, I moved to London 5 years ago, sorry. I said to Sean, like, I'm going to move to London, try and push the brand on a bit, but you need to come into the business full time within like 12 months.
So did you move to London when you went full time? Like, just, fucking take me to the next level?
No.
What was the crap with that?
I went full time with the brand when we still lived in Manchester for about 12 months. And then it got to the point where I still lived with Joe, Sean. Joe wanted to move back home to the Midlands to save money to move to America. So we were like, right, the 3 of us are going to break up here. So what do we do? Me and Sean either stayed together, because I was earning no money through 304. I moved back in with my dad in Cheshire. So I lived with my dad for probably, this was like my mid-20s, to give it a good go. So Sean was obviously subsidising me in terms of a wage, £800 a month, but I was also living at my dad's for 12 months. And then the brand was still growing at this point. So then I was like, right, I think we need to try and push the brand on now. I can't just live in my dad's house in Cheshire.
Yeah.
Let's move to London. All my friends had migrated down from Liverpool and Manchester to London, so my network was down here. So I was like, right, I'm going to meet a load of people and the brand will push on. So that was probably year 5. I moved down here to try and progress the brand. Yeah. I'm sorry, jumping all over the time. It's quite hard trying to think of the 10 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. So essentially 5 years in, there's 2 of you, you've come down to London. Like, as a business at this point, how did it look? Obviously, I imagine you're working remotely, like, you're still making everything by hand, like, you're on Magento now or Shopify or what?
When I moved to London, we moved from Magento to Shopify, which was obviously the best decision we ever made in terms of an e-com brand.
I never even went on Magento, to be fair.
It was horrendous.
I heard about it.
Sean, who my business partner is now, his best friend from school is a web developer. He was building websites for people at Aston Villa and like big companies, and just through that network, he was like, I'll build your website. It happened to be Magento. So it wasn't through us doing any research. He just said, I'll build your website. Happens to be on Magento. We couldn't do anything with it. It did the job, but as soon as one of my good friends was the sort of, I can't remember what his job title was now, but he's worked at Gymshark. He was, I think, 10th. He was the 10th person through the door. So he managed their website and was like, look, mate, you need to be on Shopify, essentially. So he convinced me when I moved to London, get yourself on Shopify. And that was the best decision ever. We weren't making anything by hand at that point. We'd fully gone from sort of the bedroom brand process view to being what at the time was like, it was very like lad brandy. Foot Asylum, Six Silk, Gym King, all them.
Six Silk classic.
Yeah, we went.
They're still going, aren't they?
They're still. I'm sure they're still doing really, really well in like that sphere. But we sort of, it's another topic to get onto. But we got sort of led in certain directions that maybe deviated from the brand's values and missions. That maybe we didn't even know early on that were our brand missions and values, into these areas that we went into for a couple of years at a time, and sort of made the brand pause and not develop as quickly as it should have, because we just got led by other people. We thought, oh, we should be doing this is doing well at the moment. And at that period when I went to London, we were really focusing on, right, Foot Asylum, JD, ASOS, these brands are smashing it, these lad brands.
I know what you mean. Lad brands, that's a good way to put it.
They were lad brands. There's nothing against them. There's so many that are still doing really sick now that have been on ASOS and sold into Foot Asylum, JD, and smashed it. But we sort of saw their success and thought, oh, maybe we should be doing this. When really, the brand's USP was that we were different. We were a unisex brand 10 years ago, which now is...
Oh, really?
Every product? Every product's always been unisex. Other than now, obviously, we have women's activewear, which is women's... It's not, men can wear it if they want, but it is women's product. We started as a brand that was meant to be, the whole tagline behind it was, the girlfriend steals the boyfriend's sweater, which used to happen in like American college. That was the brand.
That whole culture.
And it's still that today. Like everything we ever shoot, whether it be a men's t-shirt that's designed as a man's t-shirt, it's shot on a girl, it's shot on a boy.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I noticed that. I didn't think that was like intentional or like
it's from the get-go, really. Like the brand that does it best now is Collusion, I'd say, on ASOS, which is like their own brand. It's massive, but it was unintentional at the start. We were just like, right, we're making t-shirts we were 3 lads that wanted to make clothes for ourselves, but they were quite feminine in some ways, that they were quite cheesy. It was, again, we started slightly before Misguided, who came through as the slogan brand when they first started. By no means, they're a million times bigger than 3 or 4, but we were sort of floating around when they started. And
it's interesting that you've done this for 10 years, right? Because fucking that's a long time, firstly, but I like all my mates, I feel like, and I always come across people that are like fucking focused on one thing for so long. Like I'm the exact opposite of that. I've freaking dotted around a billion different things, and that's probably why I've never like got to the level I want to get to yet, but hopefully with this one I will. But like, did you even, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you started it because you were fucking interested in making shit, and then it gradually like became a business, rather than, you know, maybe more people nowadays, and maybe myself to an extent, but like you know, e-commerce, like online business become like almost like a buzzword now, like particularly like 2022, like post-COVID, whereas people will be like, I want to start a business, rather than I have a passion or I'm good at something, and then it becomes a business. Do you know what I mean? But I guess, to be fair, like that's not true about me. Like I got into e-com because I like designing logos originally, and then I was like, fuck, how do I monetize designing shit? So similar but different. But like, do you think that is the case? Like you just wanted to make shit, and then it gradually became, you sort of figured out how to actually monetize it?
100%.
Obviously it didn't happen overnight, because fucking 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time. 100%. But literally, for my course, if anyone's ever studied architecture, it's, you work late night, it's constantly like designing on computers or cutting things out and this, that and the other. That when I finished the 3 years, and I had a group of 7 lads that we had our own building at the University of Liverpool, where we'd sleep there, we'd drink there, we'd go to the gym and shower, and like it was such like a group, like a little bit of like a family like of these lads that when I went into living with Sean and Joe, if 9 to 5, come home, go to the gym, go to sleep, it felt different to what I would done for 3 years. So like when we came home from hitting the gym or whatever at like 8 o'clock, I couldn't just sit there and watch TV. We were like, well, should we, or even if it was just me, I can't really remember the ins and outs of it, but I remember being sat on Tumblr on my phone being like, I need to keep looking at stuff that I used to look at when I was at university, whether it be clothes or just design or good quotes. I used to really pride myself on how sick my Tumblr page looked, like all these quotes and stuff, like
Tumblr boys and
shit. Yeah. And then I was like, fucking hell, I need to make it into clothes. I don't know why it was clothes. I can't answer that question, but just needed to carry on making stuff, and then it just went from there. Like it was never meant to be a business. It was never meant to be a brand. It was just meant to be something that kept the three of us busy. Started making a little bit of money, then we're like, well, if we're making money, I don't want to be busy and losing money. We might as well try and figure out how to actually make money.
Yeah.
And then it was like gone from that custom to being manufactured to selling into stores, and then the e-com, Shopify, and it just, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
Someone tells you need to get onto this to do the next step to start making more money or build the brand further.
So on that then, at what point did you start outsourcing the manufacturing, firstly, as in not making it by hand, but then also like running paid ads to acquire customers? Because like obviously they were like the golden days on like Facebook ads and shit, like 5-6 years ago. Was it before that, or was it around that sort of time? Yeah, no, we outsourced. Well, it went from customizing our own clothes to then just buying blanks from American Apparel, printing them in a print shop in the Northern Quarter in Manchester. So I'd buy the blanks, deliver them to work, drive them to Manchester, print them, drive them back home, package them, ship them within like a 48-hour period. Yeah. We did Manchester Fashion Week, which was the most budget fashion week thing you've ever seen ever. There was like 5 brands on there. I think it cost us 250 quid. They did a catwalk, and like, to be honest with you, it was very, very budget, very poor looking back at it. But we got introduced to a guy called Phil Pearce, who owned a brand called AKA Clothing, who at the time were doing 2-3 million on ASOS. They were like a very like gothic, really long line t-shirts, skinny jeans, very in at the time. I feel like I recognise that name, maybe.
It was very All Saintsy. It was mega, like Jules, a big fashion agent in London, used to sell it and stuff. But anyway, he took a massive shine to the three of us and was like, look, you boys have got a pretty cool brand here. It's called 304. I like it. It could be American. I'll help you out. And he just took a massive shine to us, like you said earlier, like a bit of a mentor. We used to go around to his house once a week in Manchester, and he'd just tell us all these stories about how things that he went through that went wrong, went right, what we should avoid, what we should do, but in a good way. And he's like, look, I'll put you in touch with my manufacturers in Turkey. Yeah. You need to start making t-shirts for not £25. You need to start making them for 6 quid, 5 quid, 4 quid, because there's a big difference there. Yeah. So he put us in touch, and at that point, I then quit my day job and started trying to figure out how you make clothes. But I had no interest in clothes. I had no interest in fabrics or anything, like, being honest. I didn't really care the weight of t-shirts, the quality of the hoodies. I liked how it looked. So the actual like ad asset of how it looked on a person was what I cared about most. From my degree. Like, you need to make sure this building looks sick on the wall. The detail wasn't something that I really cared about. So for like 2 years we were manufacturing clothes that were absolutely dreadful, horrendous. Like, an extra small would be an extra large. The stitching was red on a white t-shirt. I didn't really care. And probably for a good 2 years we sort of learned that process of someone needs to care how these clothes are, because we're selling to our customers and the clothes need to be good. It doesn't just need to look good on a picture on the website. What actually makes a brand good is the quality of the product. So for 2 years I didn't have that sort of attention to it, but after 2 years I quickly realised that someone needs to understand to make a good product. And then YouTube, everything else, you learn everything online, don't you? Yeah.
I actually had a clothing brand. I mean, I've probably spoken about it a bit on the pod for like fucking 9 months. It's when I first dropped out of uni. Yeah.
How did you find it?
I mean, my conclusion on that was, it was with Ollie, who's now an investor in my brand and was on the pod. Like, We were in uni, like he was a year below me. Had a fucking office, a Regis office for 300 quid a month in Newcastle. Stopped going to uni at this point. So we started drop shipping jeans, ripped jeans during the Geordie Shore like boom. That was my first like ever like successful ecom thing. And then we actually like started making our own shit, and like we had it in James and James warehouse, actually the same one I'm using now. But it was called Dusk. But I wasn't into fashion enough. I still wouldn't say I'm like that mad into fashion. Like I don't buy designer shit. Like I don't know.
I think that
was probably the problem.
Well, that's probably part of my problem as well, that the brand's probably never gone huge like some of the other massive brands, whether it be Represent or whoever else. That I wear quite plain clothes. I'm not that fashion forward in really loving the detail of the clothes. I wear comfortable clothes. We make comfortable clothes as a brand, and that's as far as it goes really. Like we are a brand that makes hoodies, t-shirts, joggers, and that's it. The quality's great, the designs are good, but it's not like a real fashion forward brand where it's like you need to get into the details of. I see like I just mentioned there, like Represent's the brand that I really like, or Kith.
I wear a lot of Represent. These are Represent.
The quality's amazing, the detail's really, really good, and the price comes with it. Our price is a lot cheaper than that. So
fashion's an interesting one from the outside looking in. Like I think that there's quite a lot of snobbery in like more expensive fashion brands, isn't there? Like I mean, I don't really know anyone like running those sort of brands, but I know a few clothing guys that have been on. It's like there's potentially massive scale there, because I feel like it's probably the most competitive market in ecom, arguably. Like,
could well be,
maybe that and jewelry, maybe recently, but it's interesting because
it's a tough.
For me, it was just. I mean, it was like a first like foray into like proper like ecom branding and shit. And it was fucking. I was like 21 at the time, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but. Yeah, it's mad because like I always think if I'd stuck with that, what could that have been?
Why did you bin it off?
Me and my mate fell out and like just sort of fizzled out. We were like, fuck, we don't know what we're doing. And, like, it was too soon. I want to go traveling, blah 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 blah. And then, but it like we were making like Sherpa jackets, Fear of God rip-offs.
Was it DUSK?
Yeah.
So I feel like I can remember it from how many years ago was it?
Like 2016, 17. We did like okay scale. We probably did like 200 grand in like 9 months while I was at uni. I was like, that's all right.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I can picture it. So if you show me after, like, I think I can picture it.
It's still sat there with like an Instagram post from like 2017. I've had so many of those where they're just, that was like the first like relatively serious one. Like did decent numbers.
Yeah.
Like given how young we were, but it's just one of those things, innit? And then didn't stick with it. But you live and learn. I can move on to the next one. So like paid media then, like actually scaling the business that way, like when did that firstly like cross your mind and like become a thing? Like how were you getting sales before? Obviously it was pretty casual to begin with. But when you went full time, I imagine that.
We had some success with like unpaid influencers, I'd say, like early doors where I was quite big. Well, we started Instagram when Instagram started, so we had a couple of people that were really quick to being big on Instagram. So we had one of the One Direction lads' girlfriend. Really? No, not him. Oh, right. His missus.
Is it Harry or no?
No, it was Liam's missus at the time. So she was constantly wearing 3 or 4 on X Factor.
Right. Just like organically?
Organically. I think she bought a few, and then when they started the tags coming through and we were like waking up in the morning with like 20 sales or 30 sales, whatever it was, we were like, this has got to have come from this girl who was called Danielle Pisa at the time.
Yeah.
This has got to come through her. So we started messaging them kind of people via email, being like, look, we can now send you a couple of vests. Would you wear it on the X Factor? Would you post about it? Not understanding the strength of influencer marketing at the time as much as maybe we should have. And then a couple of other people, some Australian DJs, some big made in Chelsea stars, like really early started posting, and we were getting for free 50 sales off a free Instagram post. And like, this is actually mental, like this is brilliant.
When was this, like 2014, 13?
Yeah, it must have been around there. I still lived in Manchester, so yeah, maybe like 2013, 2014. And it was mad. We were going to bed with one sale, waking up with 35, 40 sales off one Instagram post in America. And we're like, that's 3 weeks worth of cutting out our letters. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? And then I don't think we started running paid ads until I moved to London, to be honest with you. We maybe have been slightly late to it because we we didn't really see it as a brand still. Albeit we were selling okay numbers. We were doing, whether it be 300 quid a week or then £3,000 a week. We never really still thought this is going to be a massive business or a brand. Until I moved to London, then we're like, we need to give this a real kick up the arse.
And that's when you went full time.
That's when I went full time and I then started doing Facebook paid ads, self-taught, giving it a go, and it started to sort of grow and started to do quite well, which I then eventually passed on to, when Sean came into the business, passed on to him. He's a lot better with numbers, a lot better with data than I am. And I then went back to being like the creative side of things, designing the clothes, the marketing, and he did the paid ads, and he's done them ever since. And yeah, you know yourself, the paid marketing sphere now changes daily, but back then it was fruitful.
Did that take the business to like the next level then, do you think?
It was the bump up that you'd need in a business. It went from like, I've heard a few people on the podcast where maybe it went from 300 quid a day to whether it be 300 quid a week, sorry, when we were like thinking, where can this go, to then 3,000 quid a week. Them sort of like incremental bumps, putting the money in, saw you go to them next steps. And yeah, since then we've never really looked back really. Now paid spend is a lot more, you have to think about where you're going to spend it. Back then it was just stick it in Facebook.
Yeah.
And you're going to,
any ad on Facebook would get you like fucking £1 CPA.
Yeah, nuts, absolutely nuts. Not the same anymore, but
yeah, that's
life, innit? It's business. Things change.
Yeah, it's always a case of looking back. It's like, oh, if I'd known what I know now, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be a fucking billionaire or whatever. But everything's changed.
Yeah, if I knew how successful influencer marketing when we started was, because obviously, like I said before, we live in the Midlands by Gymshark, who's probably the biggest influencer marketing brand there's ever been.
Yeah,
I wish we took our like intuition at the time and thought, fucking hell, we're actually onto something with these influencers, giving them something for free and getting 50 sales. I wish we doubled down on it back then, but that's life. We could have been a lot bigger than we are. But
I never had a success with influencer marketing like across the board ever. Like the biggest loss on that, I did a thing with Jay Alvarez, like, you know, that fucking he's like a Tumblr guy but like spent like 40 grand on that when I was running Midnight City like 3 years ago, and it just brought in nothing. And I was like, well, not nothing, but like, I mean, it probably technically did, but nothing noticeable. I was there thinking it's going to bring in 300 grand in sales. Like,
what brand was that?
My jewelry business, Midnight City.
Right, okay.
This was like, would have been September 2019, around then, so like nearly 3 years ago. But fucking hell, that was a big punt. I was 23 at the time and being on the phone to his manager thinking, oh,
he was a cool kid as well.
Wire the funds. And like, yeah, it was bad, but just didn't work too well for me. But
we went through a stage of like paying influencers, like when we were in the Lad brand era of being like, with me £1,000 a post or 1,500 quid a post.
Yeah, I did a lot of that as well, and
it worked really well. Like I remember not afraid to say, we paid Alex Bowen 1,500 quid for a post on
I did a few of them
on one Black Friday, and we're like, it returned about 25 grand, and you were like, fuck me, this is absolutely, if you got that return on Facebook, you'd be absolutely buzzing off one hoodie. Geez. The next year you use the same guy on the same day at the same time, no traffic.
It's changed, hasn't it? There's so many brands. Like, what's another one? When I was in Newcastle, Hera London were massive. They were massive in that sort of space.
Huge.
It was like all influencer marketing. I think it's just changed, hasn't it? Like the whole game changes, it evolves. I just don't think you could do that, like pay people for posts now. No. Like influencer marketing now, I think is more like either long-term sponsorships or it's like TikTok stuff where something might go viral. Do you know what I mean? It's not Instagram posts. Like the algorithm's fucked. Like Instagram just doesn't get reach anymore.
No, not
like, at all.
It's a shame.
Like, even compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah, massively. It is a shame because like you build your brands up to have all these followers and this community, but without an email database or a text database or an app, your social media doesn't really hit who it should be hitting. And it's the same for influencers. I'm sure I'm sure they're gutted as well that some of these influencers have spent years building up their following, and they'll post when it reaches 3%, 5% or whatever. You must be gutted as an influencer thinking.
I actually tweeted about this the other day because I think it's quite an interesting point, because obviously I launched this brand 6 weeks ago, which is like roughly 2 years since I started scaling up Neon Beach.
Yeah.
And like this has got 3,000 followers, right, from ads in 6 weeks. It's probably slightly like similar ad spend, I'd say, in the first 6 weeks. But I remember Neon Beach hit like literally, I remember must have been 30k plus followers from ads in the first month. Like, and it was, people will accuse me of buying fake followers, and I swear on my life I never bought a fake follower. It went 0 to 500k in like 6 months.
Wow.
It was fucking mad. Like the algorithm.
Yeah.
It isn't possible now.
No.
So now I view like Instagram followers, at least for this brand, given it's so new, it's like almost like a vanity metric.
Yeah.
Like it's just not reflective of like website traffic, sales, whatever. But
I think people know that as well, that
the
like,
game has changed.
It used to be like, I remember when we used to pitch to people like ASOS and Nordstrom and these kind of like wholesalers, they were like, what's your social media following?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they don't ask that anymore, because it doesn't really matter. You see brands now with 1,000 followers that are fucking sick.
Literally.
Like, their product's brilliant, cult following. It doesn't really matter. We've got quite a few followers across all our platforms, but some of the platforms are, with our most followers, are probably the worst performing ones, because they're so old now, been around for 10 years.
You get Facebook pages with 10 million likes and it gets like 2 likes on
Yeah. I mean, so that's it.
I can't even get my head around that, but it's just, everything moves on. There's like a timeline in it. Like Facebook was it, then it was Instagram. Now it's obviously TikTok. But then you start to think like, what's next?
Yeah.
Who's coming out with the next TikTok? And how do I spot it 5 years ahead? Because that's how you can fucking cash in. Just on, you mentioned Gymshark.
Yeah.
And like, I'm getting pretty philosophical before we've even gone into a load of other stuff. But do you think, like, because I speak about this with my mates and stuff, and obviously like Gymshark's an easy example because massive UK brand, like fucking textbook, like 0 to whatever. Like, would you even want to run a business that big?
No.
Was that ever a goal?
No. No.
Because I feel like everyone uses that as an example. Oh, I want to fucking build the next Gymshark. But do you actually? Or do you want to build a lifestyle brand? Not that yours is a lifestyle brand, but like a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
Which I think probably more people would be happier doing. Do you know what I mean? Like something that they can make a great amount of money doing something they love, you know, have location, time, creative freedom, whatever that looks like for them. That's probably more
100%
more fulfilling for most people.
Yeah.
Than actually trying to build like, you know, a unicorn.
I bet you if you ask someone like Ben Francis or everyone else involved in Gymshark, do you need the money? He's worth 990 million now.
Yeah.
You don't need that much money really, but he's obviously got a mission to build that brand into something really big, which is fair enough. But for 3 or 4, when we first started the brand, it was always my friends coming up from Birmingham, Joe's friends coming up, just having a laugh. Like, you've got your mates down here, like a community of people that are all sort of wanting a good time, enjoying yourself, at the same time making a bit of money. It was never like, oh, we want to be super millionaires or anything like that, because if that happens, fantastic, but your way of life is the most important thing, and that still is to today, like what we want the most from it. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I would never turn around and say I don't want $1 billion brand, but
yeah,
I would not want the headaches that come with it, knowing the headaches that I get at our scale, what a brand at that size must be going through. Not for me, I don't think. What would you want it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know you replied to my tweet like maybe a few weeks ago, and I was probably just fucking in the gym when I get like overexcited and stuff. I always do that, by the way. I'll go for like a run, get a massive like runner's high, and then like tweet some philosophical shit because my mind just has these ideas and I'm just way too public about my thoughts. But honestly, I mean, I would sway towards I want to build $1 billion brand, and it's not even about the money. I promise you it's not, because
what is it then?
It's just like the desire to fucking have an impact, and I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it comes from
an impact at a smaller scale to less people. If you had a brand that was tiny, whether it be like gifting clothes to homeless people and you impacted homeless people, that's an impact. So if it's what's the?
It's an interesting debate.
If it's not the money, then what level?
I
of the
do want to
impact?
fucking get filthy rich. Like, who doesn't? I mean, I'm just honest enough to say that because I want to fucking buy like a Cullinan and a fucking Bugatti. But even that, like, I fucking had a little taste of that, and like, money is more about freedom than fucking money itself. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I feel like if you want to fucking, I think there's like a bit of a problem in UK culture and like UK society or whatever, where people obviously like tall poppy syndrome, and like people like hate on on like wealth or success, whereas in America, like culturally, it's kind of different. But I've always thought, like, ultimately, if you build a massive thing and potentially make a load of money as a founder, you've had as long as it's not like fucking dodgy business. Like Jeff Bezos, for example, has made more millionaires and like given employment to hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people.
Yeah.
Through what he's built. And like, if you want to have a big impact, you need, I guess, like two things. By building a bigger business, you can physically impact more people because more people see your product, buy it, potentially love it, whatever. But also, like, you need money and capital and resource and ultimately like a solid business to fucking be able to scale it, to like reach those people. Yeah. Because like I've always been very aware that like I'm like a creative at heart, and it sounds like you kind of are as well. Like I was never like a businessman. Yeah. I was always just like fucking like designing logos, and then gradually sort of got into e-com, and then whatever. Now I'm like fucking selling mushrooms online. But for me, it was like I always was very aware that I didn't want to be like the starving artist, like so to speak. Like I don't want to be someone that's just like a creative but can never fucking monetize my passion. Yeah. And that's why I'm willing to go through, and you'll be the same. Like there's a lot of fucking bullshit that comes with, like people will look at like, oh, you got your own brand, it's so sick. But like, yeah, you have to deal with like fucking supply chain bullshit, customer service, finances. Like that's all I've been doing today. It's like nothing creative at all. Yeah. But I'd rather do that and be able to put myself in a position so I can actually build something that I'm passionate about, even if 90% of it's kind of shit. Yeah. Well, not shit, but like not as fun. I'm going on a tangent, but...
No, I know what you're saying though, because I had a similar conversation with someone the other day. Like if you're at the sharp end at the top of a business, where like you own your own business or you've got a team of people, you end up doing a lot of the stuff that you never set out to do, which 100%. Is the position I'm in at the moment, where we've got a team of like 10, and I was talking about the fulfillment. We've got probably like 4 or 5 people that fulfill our orders in our warehouse. Then we've got a couple of people that do like the finance and the marketing and things. But the day-to-day, without sounding annoying, like the bullshit that comes with you, like the supply chain, whether it be missed payments or, like you said earlier, like taking something 4 weeks to get to a certain country, it doesn't go to the staff. It always ends up coming to the top. You're like, I didn't start 10 years ago cutting out letters in my apartment for a freedom way of life, to be sat at my desk for 9 hours talking to suppliers or FedEx or DPD or
so true.
Someone in China about why this t-shirt's 2 centimeters too short or the fabric's 10 grams too light. That's not why you started the brand for. So then when I know what you're saying about, would you want to build a unicorn business? Those problems I can imagine, just from my perspective, being on a completely different scale. Like I know a few people, obviously being around Gymshark and some other big brands, that if you get, sometimes maybe we'll get, I don't know, 300 hoodies delivered that are wrong, we send them back, it's worth quite a lot of money. But if you get delivery that's worth 3 million, a Black Friday delivery at someone of the scale of Gymshark, and it's wrong, how would you sleep knowing, shit, I've got £3 million I've got to pay for to ship back? That's what worries me the most, is like those numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger, and at the bigger scale they stop being just a number on the screen. They get more stressful, for me, I think, anyway.
Yeah. Right then, fellas, quick one. First official sponsor for the Midnight Pod, Triple Whale. If you want to track your ecom metrics properly, all your KPIs, all your dashboards, all your blended ROAS, all that good shit in an easy to understand dashboard, as well as proper post iOS 14 pixel tracking. Know your real numbers, because I didn't in the past and I got it very wrong. Know where to spend more money, know where to spend less money, all the shit that's going to drive your brand forward. It's what I use every day in my new brands, in the past brands. It's what all the guys on the pod running super successful businesses use as well, and it's what you should be using. triplewhale.com. Go click the link below, check it out, and use my link. Support the fucking pod. Let's go, boys. Right, halfway break. Left it way too late. What was I saying about £1 billion brand? That's definitely a good point. I suppose I guess just to bring it back, and then we'll get back into like the nitty gritty, because this was way too philosophical for halfway in, compared to what we normally talk about. I don't know what it is in summary. Like, maybe I'm probably full of shit because I've not built a £1 billion brand. I've not even got close. But maybe it's just to prove to myself that I'm not a worthless piece of shit. Like, because I thought I was like a fucking genius like 2 years ago when I was running 2 brands and like scaling the shit out of them. And then life humbled me. So maybe it's just like fucking, I don't know.
What made you want to go from where you were 2 years ago when you had those brands both doing good, like very good, to go into want more? Was it that chase of you wanting the $1 billion brand? Or was it always wanting something else? Or
I think, well, probably two parts to that. Like, firstly, ever since I was like 12 years old, I was like, I don't know, I just had this thing in me that I was like, I've got to fucking do something big.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck it was. Like, but then I guess since that, it's like, until I surpass the numbers I was doing 2 years ago, at least like revenue wise and shit, I feel like a fucking subpar human.
but you can
like,
see that
to
in
a
your
level.
like running Twitter. You're always trying to beat what you've done before.
Yeah.
There's something in that I think I was similar in some ways until maybe 2 years ago, where constantly thinking, shit, I need to bench higher, or I need to run faster, or I need to do this, until I got to a point where it's like, actually, there's actually never a point where you get to other than just, I can't get any higher. You're not getting any happier, or you're not getting any more successful.
Yeah,
unless you do get to the $1 billion brand, or you get to that point where you set your target of 100 million, 500 million, or 3-minute miles, or whatever.
I know what you mean. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
it's good to set goals though.
When I was younger, it was rowing. Like, I was like an elite athlete when I was like 16, and like, I guess my identity was always like, I want to be a high performer and shit. And like in school, I was really good, and it's fucking easy to be good in school, and the bar's pretty low. But and then I guess like did pretty well in my early 20s and stuff, and then that gives you confidence. And then when I fucking had my confidence knocked, as I fucking spoke about a billion times, so I won't get too deep into that. But then it's like, I've got to fucking go to the next level. And then I suppose recently, like the whole fitness thing, running, which started just becoming a bit obsessed with, really, because I think I like that because it's more obvious when it's like it's quicker to see results in that than it is in like a business.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking physical, and it's like I'm either pushing myself or I'm not.
Yeah.
And I've always been very, very good at pushing myself physically. Like I fell out of love with like cardio for like 3 years, which is why fucking looking back at like early pods, I was a fat cunt. I wasn't actually a fat cunt, but I was like 2 stone heavier. And like my face looked like shit.
Yeah,
like, I'm definitely better looking now.
Yeah,
because
mate.
I fucking just like chop the weight off the face.
Mate, I 100% understand what you're saying. That when through COVID, when it first happened back March, myself and a lad at 3 or 4, my best mate John, we went on like a fitness diet, like Brad said earlier, that went from 85 kilograms down to 74, and it was like every week we were like, right, you need to decrease the calories, and it was like regimented. And something about that, I think from the entrepreneurial side of things, is like if you have a target that you need to keep hitting that's slightly better or slightly less in that sense, you feel that sort of buzz about it, and like that massively kept us going through COVID. And like you said about the running, like
because I was still going to the gym. Like I've always gone to the gym, but like I didn't have any like physical challenge, and like 'cause I spent years like rowing as a teenager and shit. I was like obsessed with it, and like you say, because you can see results pretty quick, like with physical training. Like if you train, in a week, you can see you're getting quicker, fitter, whatever it is. I suppose in like, obviously in like business, it's never quite as linear. There's ups and downs. Like you might be looking at results more on like a monthly, quarterly, even yearly basis. But then I actually read David Goggins' book like 2 months ago. I think it's called Can't Hurt Me. And I'm not a fucking Dave and like reading. Like I'm trying to get not better at reading, but like more consistent at reading every day. I'm reading Psycho Cybernetics at the minute, but that's a bit of a drag, to be honest, compared. But this David Goggins book, it's the first book I've read in like 5 years, but I didn't want to put it down.
Right, okay.
And I just related to it so much. It was I think like the general message from it was like pushing yourself to like ungodly levels physically basically translates into every area of life. And like it's kind of obvious, but firstly, most people don't do it, and like secondly, like I just lost that part of me. And then I realized with like running is like my new thing, I suppose. I still go to the gym and shit, but like I was like, fucking hell, like I'm actually getting pretty good. And that becomes like addictive.
100%.
So now I've like publicly said I'm going to run a sub-3 marathon this year, which I've never run a marathon, by the way, but I ran a 1:30 half marathon. Right. My first attempt. I'd never even ran that far before, so
very
now
impressive.
I'm running like 75k a week.
Mate, big. I'm seeing it and I'm very impressed. Like I was doing running through COVID, and you're smashing what I was doing, that's for sure.
So 100%. Now that's become like a new challenge, and I suppose I don't know. I just think like how you do one thing, it kind of translates into other shit as well, doesn't it? So
the discipline that goes with it is, if you can keep disciplined. Again, I go back to represent, not pushing another brand, but you see the owners that are so disciplined with
100%.
Waking up, training.
He trains like a freak.
It's not a coincidence that the brand is absolutely smashing it as a result of the discipline they put into their eating, training, everything else of the way of life. Whereas certain brands, you can see the owners going off and living life a little bit too much, and they lose focus and stuff.
100%.
But not even just brands, businesses in general. Like it happens.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a mental thing for me. Like I was in a fucking bad way the past few months, like last year, whatever, and like running just. It felt like it fucking like helped me fight my fucking demons, to be honest.
No, it's good.
Sounds like dramatic.
It's good for people to hear that they can, if they're going through something similar, that running. Because I did the same thing. I played football to a good standard-ish. I was always a sprinter. I couldn't ever run distance. And then through COVID, I started running a bit further, and I was like, I can't do it. Started doing it, and then I got the runner's high at the end, and you're like,
it's better than cocaine.
This is mad. Like, this is nuts. At the end of a run, you finish, and you're like, I'm thinking
the harder
clearly.
It is, the better, the harder as well.
You're trying to, like, I know you're hitting some silly times, but when I was trying to do like sub 4 minute kilometers, I was like, I was gunning for it at the end, and you get it, and you're like, this is mental. This is like better than a great day of sales on Shopify. This is mega, and it's free. It's free, and it's something that you can control and you can strive for. That's just don't eat too many burgers and go for a decent run.
Yeah, honestly, like rainbow dust, not drinking. I only drink on like Thursdays, and fucking running is a lethal combination.
Yeah, and it's all other than the rainbow dust, it's free.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think you mentioned like 2 years ago you stopped gunning for like that obsession. Like, why 2 years ago? Like, what happened? I think you just get older, or what?
I think it was partly getting older. I think it's partly like the lifestyle changed. When I lived in London, I said earlier that I moved down here to try and push the brand on and network and stuff. It didn't necessarily happen. I think I met my now wife, that was a huge turning point for me in terms of my life and understanding what actually made me happy and what I wanted from life. That now my wife's pregnant, and that sort of situation I find myself in now makes me 10 times happier than what I thought maybe I wanted when I was chasing 3 or 4 nights out in London, and which, don't get me wrong, it was great, and I did love it. If I wasn't with my wife now, I probably still love that sort of driving the business on, but I understand now, experiencing all aspects of it, that is actually what, if I went from X amount of revenue now or profit to double now, would I be any happier than I am with the situation I'm in? I don't think I would be. It'd be slightly more comfortable with what we could do, but is that the be all and end all? Probably not. I don't think, from my perspective, that 3 or 4 is ever going to be a unicorn business or a brand. That it's not going to happen. So I'm in the sort of mindset of, why pedal to try and get it to not even that close to it, when currently the brand is doing well. It's good. It's got 10 years longevity. It sells well. We've been in tons of decent stockists. We've got a great customer base. Do we need to keep pushing to get more and more? Our returning customer base is good. Our new customer acquisition is good. It's in a good spot. We don't want the brand to die by becoming stagnant, but it's doing well, and I'm happy with where I'm at. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered that question or not.
No,
I went off on one.
It is interesting because my parents always say this to me, like particularly my dad, and like more so when I was a bit younger, to be fair. They're like, and I think they were unfair in saying it, but they were like, "Oh, stop chasing money." And like, I wasn't chasing money. I was fucking selling pink lights online. Like, if I was chasing money, I'd go get a job in the city and sell my soul. You know what I mean? Like, that was one. I thought that was ironic in itself, but
no, I got a lot of friends that work in the city and earn a lot more money than you could possibly earn in a brand, that through profit. Like, again, like the revenue thing doesn't mean profit. And
exactly.
I got friends earning decent money by working in the city. That if you want quick money, that's probably the best way to get.
100%. And then they would always say to me like remember what matters in life and shit. And it's funny because I've definitely got more of a perspective on like what matters to me and shit as I've got older and blah blah blah. Like, you get these 18-year-olds on Twitter or whatever, you know, fucking like just talking about chasing the bag and shit, and they've never paid a fucking VAT bill, and the fucking like HMRC has entered the chat because they haven't got a registered business and all this shit. And like, it's a stereotype, but it's actually accurate and it's true. And I was fucking probably that guy when I was a bit younger, and you know, you heavily finance a car that fucking you think will get you girls, but actually just gets you parking tickets, but it's still cool. Yeah. But then you like realize that actually that shit leaves you feeling pretty empty, and it's like, my fucking dog probably makes me happier than that fucking stupid Ferrari did.
Yeah. Do you, a quick question
even
for you.
though I like cars, but
yeah, well, you've had some pretty nice cars in the past. Quick question for you is, we went through many like Black Fridays, for example, where you see brands on Twitter, LinkedIn or whatever it be, like posting what they've done, how successful they're doing. Have you ever got swallowed up by the comparison of, shit, my brand's not doing what I've 100%. Just seen other brands doing? Because that was one of my turning points maybe 3 years ago, when we had our best ever Black Friday, and I saw a couple of other founders on Instagram posting their Shopify sales and thinking, fuck, with 10%, 20%, 30% off what they've done, we've had a bad one. But actually, we just had our best ever Black Friday, but instantly I feel shit because we haven't done what they've posted, which could be fake, it could be true, but the comparison that comes through, like you said, there's 18-year-olds.
That's an interesting question, because this is what I've thought about a lot and have dealt with a lot over the years. And to give context on this, so like, I guess I've always been fortunate to have a good network, particularly from a young age, and like lived with guys. I lived with Fred, who runs Sanucci, for fucking 2.5 years, whatever it was, and like have a lot of mates doing like mad numbers, who a lot of which have been on the pod. But, and Fred won't mind me saying this, but we fucking spoke about it face to face. When all that shit, the biggest comparison thing for me was I lived with him. So when we met, we were doing almost identical numbers, right? And we were for like a while, and then 2020 we were both fucking crushing it. It was almost identical. There was always comparison. We'd speak about numbers like, oh, I'm doing 1 million this month, when it was fucking crazy numbers, really. But like, probably the hardest part of when all that shit went tits up, I don't know if I spoke about this on the pod, is, and again, I've said this to him, so he won't mind me saying it, like, we had the opposite of years.
Right.
So all my shit went tits up, all his shit went fucking parabolic, and X, Y, and Z things happened. Don't know if I can comment on the pod, you know, and that was like, fuck. So we've had the exact same work routine. I've been working just as hard as you. You know that, because we've fucking shared the time. But everything's gone tits up for me, and everything's gone fucking perfect in my eyes for you. So yeah, the comparison thing, definitely. And that was the most direct comparison, because I was literally in the fucking room every day with him.
Yeah,
like, and yeah, I don't feel that anymore, because now I feel like I'm fucking working on shit that I'm way more excited by, and you know, whatever. But, and I think broadly speaking, like other people, and it's the downside, I guess. It's the one downside of having like successful mates. Yeah. Especially mates that you've known from like the trenches, but before they were like successful and shit, is you fucking compare your numbers to them. Like loads of them have been on the pod, you know, Jordan from Move's doing mad numbers, Adam, Crown and Paul, mad numbers, fucking Ollie and Joe, who run Soul with us, fucking making mad profits from their agency and shit. And like, I'd definitely rather be like the smaller fish in a big pond, so to speak. Yeah. But when you've intentionally or otherwise put yourself in those circles, which is obviously a net benefit, but like there are elements that's like, fuck, when you're having a bad time, like I was last year, every fucking person in your room's doing better than you. Yeah. I think, like you said there, though, like, having your close network of people that are doing well is good. Like, I don't necessarily have a close network of people that are in the e-com space that do well. My problem was seeing people that I didn't particularly know that were posting stuff that I was like, oh shit, at least yours are friends that are giving you the honest. Yeah, I've had that as well.
That I was comparing to people that could be bullshitting, could be lying, could be doing better. No context. I found myself getting consumed by that when I finally checked myself and was like, it doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all how well someone else is doing. You need to become aligned with what actually makes you happy, what's successful for you. Someone could be doing 20 million and be unhappy, and someone could be doing 1 million and being really happy. You've got to find where you are, but you having that network of friends that are all driving you on, I think that's brilliant. I would be great to have that. When I moved to London, maybe that's one of the reasons why I thought I might move to London, to get that network of people that you surround yourself with people that are doing similar things to you. You lift each other up. Yeah. That, like, again, go back to the lads that live in the Midlands that Reese Barra, Able boys, Tay-Rock guys, Lewis Morgan, that they're all best mates, and they all seem to be succeeding because they're all lifting each other up in their brands to do better, similar to you and your pals that I didn't necessarily have that.
It's the most common question I get, you know, off the back of this pod is like, how do I network?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, I mean, I've got a great network, but it's never been fucking forced. Like everyone I've ever met that I would consider a good mate or like in my network, whatever, I literally met them fucking getting pissed in some scenario, whether that was in Bali, like fucking London, wherever it is. Like, it's not some networking event where I'm fucking scripted what I'm going to say and talking a load of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's also because I'm just a pretty straightforward character. Like the way I speak on the pod is the way I speak to anyone that I don't know or do know.
Yeah, that's good.
I think, yeah, maybe some people are trying to force it a little bit. Like, I don't know, fucking going to events, trying to meet people. But like ultimately you meet people that are interested in similar shit. And if you're doing something cool, just fucking put yourself out there.
100%, yeah.
Like, go meet someone, or like, I don't know, fucking speak to people on Instagram and meet up in person, whatever it is. And
yeah, mate. It
ends up.
The opportunities are endless. I've seen it on Twitter now, like with your new brand. Like it's attracting Twitter's so many
crazy.
people to your brand because it's in a sphere that people are interested in, and you're doing a good thing, and like the brand's growing. Like I'm seeing it from the outside and thinking people are swarming to it. Like you're seeing your numbers growing every day, whether it be engagements on the tweets or I'm seeing it from the outside thinking it's not for you begging for someone to, it's people are interested in what you're saying, which is fantastic, and fair play to you.
Yeah, I think it's just sharing like real shit, innit?
Yeah,
I don't have any fucking agenda with that sort of stuff, whereas I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But coming back to business end briefly, I feel like I love the philosophical shit. I can go into it so much. So I know you've got a big office warehouse setup. Where is that?
Kings Norton in Birmingham. That's where we're based.
So how has the business looked over the past few years? And I guess like bringing us like kind of fairly up to speed, like past 2-3 years maybe. And you said you got 10 people. You do all the fulfillment in house.
All fulfillment,
which I've never done, and maybe never would.
Yeah.
But there's obviously pros to that as well. That we were saying off camera. Like,
yeah.
How's the day to day look? Basically?
We sort of maybe got pushed into the situation we're in right now because back in 2018 we were in a 3PL called Cloud Fulfillment that burnt down. So
fucking hell.
There was the two of us at the time. So myself and Sean were both full time, and my best friend at the time, we went to Ibiza for a holiday. He was about to start working for us as our first ever employee in the business. Went to Ibiza for a lad's holiday. First night, got back after the night out. Sean rings me, he's my business partner. Sit down, you need to hear this. Our warehouse is burnt down. Obviously, it's not our warehouse, but it was where all our stock was. We were like 300-400 grand's worth of stock, which is everything we owned, burnt to the crisp. We're like, what are you actually meant to do when you've got a brand that's 6 years old? All your stock's now gone. We owe suppliers a shit ton of money. What are you meant to do? Do you just call it a day? Well, obviously on holiday, That is
the worst time to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, you're on holiday with your best mate who's just quit his decent job to come work for you. I've just persuaded him to quit his job and come work for us on a shit wage. The brand's over, and he's thinking, fuck, I bet he's thinking, can I ring my old job and take the resignation back? Like, but at the same time, trying to be there for your mate. And I remember thinking, having a conversation with Sean, vaguely remember it being like, do we just call it a day? Like, is it, we owe people hundreds of thousands of pounds for stock that we can't now pay for, and orders that we can't fulfill. What the hell do we do? Fast forwarding through the next like 6 to 12 months, which were absolute hell, trying to fulfill orders that we didn't have the stock for, speak to suppliers that we didn't have stock for. This was all when we were manufacturing clothes.
What happened to that stock that got burnt down? Was it like insured by the 3PL?
It was insured by the 3PL, but it was insured at like the base cost price that we paid for. That it took, I think it was 12 months to pay out, and it was paid out in 3 installments. So we had suppliers that were desperate for money, that we didn't have the best payment deals with these people that are like, you pay 30% up front, 30 or whatever it was. We'd already paid some money towards the stock that had gone that we weren't then getting paid out for another 12 months. Our cash flow was absolutely fucked. we were like, well, what do we do? We're out. We've paid for stuff we haven't got. We got orders that we can't fulfill. All our stock's gone. Told our customer base the situation, and we're like, do we just call it a day?
What the fuck is this? Space Goods, spacegoods.com, Rainbow Dust version 1, my newest entrepreneurial ecom brand venture. I spent 6 months in the trenches building this shit from scratch. We launched 6 weeks ago. What's it all about? The next generation wellness brand with a long-term vision to essentially consumerize the pending psychedelic consumer goods market, which might sound absolutely ridiculous. We're not quite there yet. The market's massively illegal. But what is this? Rainbow Dust version 1 is an all-in-one mushroom and adaptogenic blend designed to unlock your supernatural self. Essentially, experience a sharper focus, sustained energy, zen-like calm throughout the day. It's an all-in-one powder, tastes like fucking hot chocolate, tastes delicious, works great, looks great, feels amazing. Essentially, the broader concept here was to legally imitate a psychedelic microdose, and like I said, experience those symptoms. You can mix it with anything, brownies, bake brownies with it, mix it with your coffee, have it without coffee, replace your coffee, put it into a protein shake. It's super fucking versatile, it tastes great, it replaced the stack of supplements I was previously taking, but you need to try this shit. It would definitely change the way you work, get you into that deep workflow. I obviously think that myself. Plenty of 1,000+ first customers think the exact same shit. It's not just a pretty packaging, it actually works really fucking well. Keto, vegan, all that good shit. Trust me, you need to try it for yourself. Let's scale this shit to the moon. Spacegoods.com. Get on your Rainbow Dust subscription and see how you fucking feel. Let's do it for the boys. Spacegoods.com.
Long story short, we were like, to all our suppliers, please support us or we're going bump essentially. Some of them supported us and we said, right, can we start manufacturing blank clothes and we'll just print it in the UK? So instead of manufacturing lad brand tracksuits, polyester with panels down it and all these fucking fancy zips like Jim King or whatever, we started making just blank tracksuits, black ones, grey ones, blue ones, and then getting them shipped in and printing them when they got to the UK. And it started to sort of, we went from a brand that was like, say, there to there. It actually kicked us on. That.
Oh, really?
The print-on-demand model, holding stock in bulk, but not having like it tied up to one SKU, actually pushed us further on. So again, like when I've got a black t-shirt on now, in the past we'd had to have bought maybe 100 or 300 of this exact design. We were buying 1,000 plain blank t-shirts on the goodwill of the factories and printing them once we'd sold one. So we'd ship them within 48 hours because we had the equipment to do it. And we just started to snowball from there. And then we obviously got the office in Birmingham. I moved back to live with my wife now from London, set up the office, and now the brand is a fully print-on-demand model. So we've
oh shit, really?
We're completely three circles. So when we first started, we were print-on-demand.
Yeah.
Went to a lad brand, went to manufacturing, went to
Lad brand's a good term.
yeah, I say it, but we weren't a lad brand for a long time. But we tried it. We went into Footaside, I went to ASOS, went to Nordstrom, nearly got in JD, done the full circle, and then we went back to sort of being what we started. Now we're back on a print-on-demand business that's unisex, which is where we feel most comfortable, and that's where we're doing it now. So we hold all our stock in Sheffield, blank tracksuits, t-shirts, everything blank. Twice a week we ship it into our studio in Birmingham. When the orders come in, we print them and we ship them out the same day. And that's where we're at.
So the warehouse burning down basically pivoted the business and actually made things go better, you reckon? It's like a silver lining to all that shit.
100%, yeah. Like, it caused problems in terms of like the actual operations of the business and cash flow and everything that came from it being quite screwed with finances. It caused problems that were still, you can still see some problems as a result of that 4 years ago now that you're still trying to like work through, because we owed so much money to people that we'd had stock for and insurance claims that we're probably just getting through it. But the actual brand and how we work, we got kicked forward massively, and we learned how to operate lean as a business now, where like the brand that I know that works on a similar model to we do is Champion, who are a fucking massive brand. They do every college piece of clothing in America. That you go into a Champion store in the US, everything's blank. They have custom stores all over the world that you just literally walk in, you buy a grey hoodie, all the logos are there, you print what you want and you walk out, and you actually pay a slight premium for it because it's you're printing what you want. So I've got a couple of hoodies for you and Brad that are in the car that I printed today that like they're one of ones that where we wanted to give our customers back to how we started, that maybe someone else will never have that hoodie, because albeit the logos are available on the website, you can print it where you want, how you want it, on what color, and that's the USP. And that came from the fire 4 years ago, and we're still doing well for it now.
That's mad.
Yeah,
that is mad.
It's operationally it's tough, but it's the USP of the brand essentially.
Do you think, does that put like a limit on the potential scale, or are you happy where it is?
Yeah, it can't scale in terms of how we've got a custom build on the website, so you can actually go on the website, pick your hoodie, pick your logo, which there's a scale to that, because you'd have to become a fully customizable website like Printful or whatever, where it becomes a bit shit and you're printing on guild hands or whatever. Ours are our own manufactured goods, our own bespoke machines that print in the goods. It's printed by the team, it's sent out by the team. There is a probably scale to it before it starts getting quite messy, but we've scaled through COVID quite well with the same size team, and we're pretty happy with where it's at. It could probably go a little bit bigger again before we need to take the next step, but whether we want to take that next step or whether we can take that next step is another question, really.
You mentioned before that like having everything in-house, like one place, like a good atmosphere, good vibe and shit, that's something I've often thought about, like the whole people building brands online, etc. Like I've had an office in the past, funnily enough, with Adam actually from Crown & Pour when I was like 22. I've never had an office since. I've always been fully remote, which there's like lots of pros to that, but I'm getting to the point now where I think, just as like a lifestyle thing, I would definitely like to have an office with people in, like longer term, just for like my fucking like mental health or like soul. Because like even if you could scale to, I don't know, fucking 20 million quid online from a laptop, which by the way I think you probably could in certain markets, and just have a remote team. At the end of the day, you just sat at a fucking laptop by yourself all day, even if the digits on the screen are big.
It goes back to the number. The screen goes from 2 million to 20 million or 2,000 to 2 million. I bet you're buzzing with it, but you're not as buzzing as you would be on that run outside, because you get that run as high, or you're speaking to your mates when you go for a meal at the end of the day and you're chatting to them. Like 3 or 4 now is, I've got Sean, who I started the business with, which is my friend from university. I've got my best friend, who was my best man. I was his best man, who's our like first employee. His wife works for us. My best friend from school works for us. It's not everyone was hired as a specialist marketing director or whatever. They were friends that were hired. That was the reason why we started the brand, was because we wanted a way of life that we played ping pong. We played ping pong on Wednesday night at the local village hall, because that's what we started at the office. And it might sound cheesy and you think, oh, a brand's playing ping pong with your mates and stuff, but I'd rather do that at our scale than go to 200 million and be a 300 person business where you walk in and not knowing everyone, which would be great. You'd have your personal relationships outside of work. Like, I'll go back to Gymshark again, you've been Francis, but I like our team at being 10, and we do our fulfillment, we do everything. There's nothing we don't do in-house other than a bit of web development, which we've got an agency that work with us in Birmingham that they're like an extension of the business anyway. I
think this is actually a really interesting discussion point. I've thought about it a lot, particularly like the past few months. I've like got older, and like I kind of got like a bit sick of just the idea of being able to travel, because like did a lot of that when I was younger, and like the whole remote thing means I guess you could fucking go to Australia tomorrow. I don't fucking want to anymore. Like I did when I was 22, but the whole like, because I like someone asked me the other day like how many people are on your team, and I was like, I guess it's, well, I don't really know, but like that was my initial answer. But like there's like agencies and like freelancers and fucking, there's no like full-time employees yet or whatever. But
did you have full-time employees before on the previous?
I had like 3 of them. Right. It was fucking terrible timing, because it was just before shit went tits up, and it was fucking, he knows about this. That was it was a nightmare. But it's like the amount of money I'm even just paying an agency, for example, like an ads agency, and they are a good ads agency. So I could probably get fucking 2 full-time people in an office I could actually speak to and have like a personal relationship with, and maybe go running with. Do you know what I mean?
No,
so it's like there's a fine line between outsourcing everything and keeping it like remote. It's not even leaner necessarily, like obviously an office cost, whatever, but like the people cost is like the same.
Yeah.
Arguably more working with like certain agencies. But then like a line between that and actually how am I spending my time?
Yeah.
Because like I've spent the past like fucking 3-4 years working, granted in like a nice London flat with a mate, but like I'm still just fucking working at home. And like obviously during COVID that was perfect because that was all I'd ever known anyway. But it's like, fuck, I ain't doing this on 35. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
like no way.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I definitely would like to. Obviously, like it needs to make sense in terms of like space and like financials and shit. Because I'd like to have an office in like Fitzrovia in London.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, that's like the perfect spot. Be like 20 grand a month for a small room, but we'll work it out.
But it depends if that £20,000 a month actually doesn't always need to bring you an ROI on it. As long as that brings you as a founder and the sharp end of the business, makes you more, I don't know, energized, it brings your relationships with your team stronger, then it's worth the money. Like our warehouse now we've probably outgrown it, but we're not moving because we're like, well, we're all in the same. It's one big room. Brad's been there.
I've definitely seen pictures.
If we move to a bigger place and we split everyone up, like even I, like when John and stuff, we sit in the warehouse. So like I said before, I moaned about it. It's a little bit loud. You can't have private meetings, but at the same time, you're in the same room as everyone. Someone's doing customer service. Someone's printing the clothes. It feels like a family, and that's what we want for the brand. So
yeah,
what you want from your brand and your office, if you have to pay over the odds for it, as long as it's bringing you what you want that makes your business succeed.
I'd like to have polished concrete floors in a podcast studio.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Like Scandinavian style Nordic furniture, like
why not?
Proper like low, deep, shallow sofas and shit. I have this whole vision, but
manifest it.
Yeah, it's funny because I used to think, fuck having an office when I was like younger. I was like, I want to be on the beach in Bali or some bollocks. But you can't do any work on a beach in Bali. Whereas now my mindset is completely shifted. I'd rather be like, you know, I'm fucking working for these 2 months and then have a holiday.
Yeah, 100%.
It's so interesting though, because like that whole culture of like nomad, it's kind of sprouted in like the past 5-6 years or whatever. But I don't want to work in Bali on a beach. I'd rather just go on a holiday.
Yeah, I've never done it. I went away on a holiday last week with my wife. And I went away on holiday to go on holiday. Like we could go away, both of us are technically self-employed, that we could go away and work, but I'd actually rather go away on holiday and just chill out.
Yeah, I actually agree now. My view on that's completely changed again as I've just got a bit older. I don't know what it is, but
maybe it is just getting older. Like you're not old, but getting older, like you.
Yeah, just perspective shifts.
Perspectives, yeah, 100%.
Where do you want to take the business then? Because, I mean, there's probably so many fucking things we could have gone into or could still go into over 10 years, but it sounds like you've got to a point now where, well, correct me if I'm wrong, you enjoy what you're doing. It's at a level that you like, that fits you as a founder.
Yeah.
You've got a good setup with people around you and shit, which I think is probably fucking what 99% of society would love. Like, is there like certain levels you want to take it to, like, I don't know, potentially an exit plan, like an end goal with it, or are you really just playing it by?
I think there's probably a couple of bits that I think eventually I could probably see my life without 304, without being defined by, oh, David made 304 10 years ago, he's always associated with it. But at the same time, when we started it was all about like going back to like that original beginning where all our friends came to the apartment. I would love to have a period of the brand where we had, whether it's permanent stores or pop-up stores or tours where, like, again, represent you sample sales. We tried to do it just before COVID hit, where we did it at our office, where our customers came printing their own clothes, back to like the Champion stores where they're fully customizable. I would like to have a period of the brand where we could actually do that, where we could go out on the road and have our customers come meet us and print their own clothes with us. That's probably what I would like to do before either the brand ends, I exit the brand, or whatever happens with it. But I wouldn't feel comfortable the brand finishing or me exiting before we've had that opportunity to do how it sort of started, because we've nearly done a 360, I think that would need to happen before I was fully finished with it, if you know what I mean. But I'm happy with where it's at now. Like the way of life, I'm pretty content with it. It'd be great if it grew a little bit, but I don't think it needs to go in that much bigger. We've been in loads of stockists. It's done well. Some stockists it's not done well. Online's done well, then it's gone down, then it's gone back up again. We've been through so many things that have gone well and gone bad. I'm at the period now where I'm not really sure what would be a surprise to us. Like we've had the ups, we've had the downs, we've had stockists promise millions, we've had stockists deliver millions, then we've had, I'm not sure what else is yet to come. We've had fires in the warehouse, we've had offices break in, we've had everything you could think of. That I'm actually at the point now where let's just enjoy the process. What happens in the next 5 years or 10 years, we'll see.
Do you ever think about other businesses that you want to go in, or the brands that you want to start? Or do you think you're kind of done with that startup trenches stage and you want to just, like you say, enjoy the process more?
Yeah, I think from a personal perspective, I don't think I'd want to go back into the trenches and start a brand like you have. I don't know how you've got the energy to do 4 or 5 times. I would like to maybe work with brands that are doing it and try and help them and sort of nurture and sort of work on a creative basis with them, because there's certain things you can't do with certain brands. Like I'm sure you've had it before, you've done a jewelry brand and then a mushroom brand, that there's certain creative things you can't do with certain brands that you have an idea and think, oh, it's not fit for clothes, or it's not fit for space, or it's not fit for this. That maybe I'm only 33, probably got maybe 20, 30 years more left in working in a career that I'd like to work with other stuff, but I've not had that opportunity yet. So maybe not. We'll see.
Have you had like exit offers before, you know, situations where you could sell the business and so on? I feel like for me, and this is another interesting one, I've always thought that's like the fucking Champions League of entrepreneurship. Selling your business. Yeah, we've had conversations with people that have expressed interest in buying the brand or buying equity in the brand and stuff, and we've spoke to people about it, but at the moment I don't think necessarily what we would get reflects what we feel like we've maybe put in for 10 years. So maybe there is more work to do with, it would be 2 years, 5 years, to actually get the brand to be worth what we, myself and Sean and everyone else that's involved in it, would reflect that it's actually worth what we've put into it. So right now we wouldn't sell. Yeah. But maybe in the future, or I don't know, maybe in the future the brand will run for forever. We don't know. 3 or 4 could evolve into something else. If over the 10 years, like I said, it was a unisex vest brand, then it was a lad brand, then it was mainly wholesale, then it was direct to consumer, and now it's back to print on demand. A lot of brands do fall off after maybe 2 or 3 years, especially in clothing. Yes, I do see it a lot. We're at 10 years now, where I'm not saying we're a heritage brand by any means, but 10 years is a long time for the brand to still be. There's a few brands that started at a similar time that are still going, whether it be like Hype, Represent, Misguided aren't really a brand as such, they're a retailer, but there's not many brands that started at the start of Instagram that are still going now. Very true. They're probably bigger than us. There's a lot of brands that have gone, our sort of 10 years has been quite a slow gain, but there's brands that maybe Morveo and Six Silk, Jim King, that have shot past us. But it's not to say that they might not be in 10 years, they might exit, or the brand like shelf life might not be as long, who knows. But we've had a slow rise for 10 years that who's to say that it can't go for another 20 and be a super dry that it's just always there. Very true. Brands like that have been around forever. What do you think's been the hardest thing in the past 10 years, like entrepreneurially? Not necessarily like a specific event, but like just the hardest, challenge you've had to deal with, because there's obviously fucking loads, particularly in a 10-year period. The hardest thing over 10 years is probably staying motivated, I'd imagine. Like that, again, I don't know whether you've been in a similar situation where there comes a period where, like in anything, I guarantee in 6 months' time you'll probably be like, I can't keep pushing the runs, I can't keep pushing the gym. That you have a slight dip off, like anything in life, whether it be football team or business, that
over 10 years, there's been so many periods where myself, my business partner, and even John that probably thought, I haven't got much left in me here to keep pushing, to keep growing. And that constant cycle of trying to like re-energize yourself to go again is tough mentally, like to keep going. I'd probably say that, to be honest with you, just making sure you're continuously, 10 years is a long time.
Fuck yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. And then I'll be honest with you, like if any like new brands are starting, understanding data and your cash flow, if we'd have known those two were so important at the beginning, life would have been a lot easier in the first couple of years.
Everything makes sense looking back, right?
Yeah.
All right, final question. I mean, I feel like, by the way, we could there's probably so much we haven't gone into.
Yeah.
But you probably wouldn't remember every detail 10 years for a start. And
it's making me, it's like a therapy session. It's good.
For sure. 3 bits of advice to your, I guess for you, like 20-year-old self or 23-year-old self when you started the business, knowing what you know now. What would they be? I've started asking that question. It's become a fucking cliche thing that I do on every episode, but I think it's fucking interesting because
3 pieces of advice.
You just don't know until you have been through it.
Try and figure out your values and your mission for the brand as early as possible. Don't get sidetracked by like what we did, where you get led by what other people say maybe you should be doing, because you can go off on a tangent that's not aligned to what your core values are. Like your brand now, you're so buzzing by it because it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Understand your data from the get-go, because it's free and it will grow your business. And cash flow, just understand it. Whether you have to get advice from someone else that understands cash flow in a business, you can try and grow a brand without sounding like demeaning to people. Anyone can grow a brand and push it, but it will stop quickly if you don't know where your cash is.
Yeah, fucking tell me about it.
Very, very quick. So
very true.
That I wish someone had told me in year 1, have a cash flow planner, understand where you're spending your money, your profit, and where every penny's spent, because it will catch up on you further down the line quickly. So true. Bit boring, but yeah.
No, it's actually so true. Like I was saying this the other day to someone else. It's the boring stuff, I guess, that fucking. There's that saying like drive for show, putt for dough.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, more people, anyone could come up with an idea, do like the enjoyable front end stuff, but it's the fucking back end, the boring shit, which is what I'm spending most of my fucking time doing right now, by the way.
Yeah. But if someone taught you that from the get-go, or you had a business partner that was like in the numbers, understood it from the beginning, your creative process.
I think you just need a bit of experience to appreciate that, don't you? Like when I was getting started, I didn't fucking think about that, but now I think about it way more because I've got experience of shit going well and bad. And I was like, that's the number one thing that can end the game.
I bet that's why a lot of people's 3rd, 4th, 5th business succeed more than the first, because
100%.
They actually understand all the things that have gone wrong, whereas us, we're not letting go of number 1. We're still going with number 1. We won't let it go.
Fucking hell, very true. Right, that was super interesting episode. I feel like we could go into a billion other things as usual, but every episode would be 5 hours if we did that. I learned a lot about you and your story and fucking life and shit. It's always good getting like an older perspective, I think, on
not
certain
too
things. Not too old, definitely not the oldest guest we've had. Probably close. But yeah, if you're enjoying the pod, subscribe as usual. I think this is episode 40. We've got 12 more till we get to the coveted 1 year, 52 weeks point, which is pretty fucking mad. Time is going too quick. Drop a comment what you want to see, all that good shit, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers for watching. Peace.